This is the PressBox High School Football Show with Booker Corrigan and legendary former McDonough coach Dom Damico. The guys look over everything going on in the world of high school football, both at the private school and public school level. Now, here's Booker Corrigan.
Hey now, what a weekend of playoff of football. We got a stunner. We got some guys who held serve. I got my man Dom Damico. We got the U.S. Army. We got Glen Burnie Transmissions. We got Wise Markets and the Annapolis Running Classic. Annapolis Running Classic, ever since you announced that you were going to participate in the .0005K.
Yes, sir.
Registrations have gone from 1,650 to over 2,100.
I love it.
Yeah, people are anxious to see you run 45 feet. They're very excited about it. Booker Corrigan here with Dom Damico. We're going to get into some great playoff matchups. A Conference, B Conference recaps, the MPSSA recaps. The public schools are really getting it done. I'm proud of them. But we want to start off, kind of a little bit of a recap from last week. You talked about leadership and encouraging your son to be a leader. Give me an example of how somebody who, obviously, if he's the class president, I understand he's got the leadership piece. But if he's not the class president, how can he step into some kind of a leadership role?
Well, if we stick on football kind of a venue, if your kid's just on the team, he's a practice player, he's not the star player, he's not the team captain, there's always going to be some football players that need some academic help. So my idea would be, hey, let me start up a tutoring club, an academic club. At Franklin, we call it coach class, where let's say you're really strong in math and you know there's 3 or 4 kids on the team struggle in math. Set that up. Take ownership.
And say, hey, it's 7 o'clock. We're in this room. Or at 7 a.m. or 8 p.m., we're meeting to discuss algebra.
Hey, go to the coach and have the coach announce it. Hey, you guys, 4 guys are struggling in algebra 2. PJ's a really strong math student. He's going to be available today at 2:30 before practice. Get in there. He'll help you with your homework. He'll help you get prepared. And PJ now, not only does PJ learn how to go to communicate to the coach so that the coach can announce where PJ is going to be, but he has to organize those 4 or 5 kids that are going to come. He's going to teach them. He's going to get skills to organizational skills. He's going to show those kids and learn how to lead those kids from maybe being a C- student to a B student. And so taking that thought in his head.
And he's going to get something out of that.
And he's going to get something out of it. He's helping his team. He's helping his friends.
The other piece of the puzzle that I think you didn't touch on was maybe I'm not great at math, but I want to help these young men so I can be the conduit and I can say, okay, Dom is going to run the math tutoring club. I was very good at physics. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to do the physics tutoring. So now I'm the organizational hub of the English tutoring session, and I don't do the English. I'm not a big Shakespeare. My sister Kelly, phenomenal with Shakespeare. Really understood the guy. Oh. Myself, not so much.
And a great author.
Yeah. Well, she did okay on the author stuff. Do I look sunburnt?
A little bit, yeah.
No, I just got back from Sarasota with my girl Tanya. It was phenomenal. A little cough due to cold, but I'm sucking it up. Now, the next piece, we talked about the leadership piece. That's important. But what's really important and how a kid can sabotage their own existence is by putting something out on social media. You and I had a great discussion about it. Recap some of that for us.
Yeah, I think a lot of parents are concerned really with kind of monitoring what's going on with social media, but I'm going to kind of send a different twist on it. I think you have to teach your kid about what they're doing when they press that send button. Most of them think, like you said to me, it's in pencil, but when you do that, it's in pen. People take pictures of it, and it lasts. Politicians get caught up in it. And today, with all the vetting that's going on, for a regular job, they're looking through your social media posts. So colleges definitely do it. Employers do it. I mean, even people that you would possibly want to go date, maybe you're looking at their stuff and saying, "Hey, I don't like the crowd they're with. I don't like them pictures. I don't kind of like the way they dress or where they talk or who they're hanging with or what they're doing." So you eliminate yourself from that deal. So I think it's important as a parent to teach your kid the power of that send button and what they're posting and how that's going to stay with you for a really long time.
And you even alluded to it. I'm sure that Tanya looked up my social media and said, "This guy's all right. I'm going to check this guy out."
Well, thank God she didn't see me and you hanging out, because she would have probably ran away pretty fast. But
5 years ago, we hooked up. It's amazing. Again, thank you so much to the U.S. Army, Glen Burnie Transmissions, Wise Markets. And the Indianapolis Running Classic, Dom Damico will probably set some kind of record. You were a track guy. You ran in the Penn Relays.
Oh, boy, that was about 65 pounds ago. But, I went from
I'm down 65, so we're good.
We're good. Well, I went from a 4x100 meter guy to a hammer thrower. So, different body types. But I'm pretty good in the shot right now.
Let's get through some of the recaps because you really did analyze some of the games. And Luke and you and I were talking about the difference between suggestions and decisions. And at the end of the McDonough-Spalding game, you got to make decisions based on what you think is best for your team. And McDonough kind of dodged a bullet, and now they're still undefeated, and now they're going to play Mount St. Joe in the championship game. What jumped off the page at you?
Well, it was an exciting back-and-forth game. McDonough started strong on some Spalding mistakes, and then all of a sudden Spalding took over, and, it kind of went down to the last minute, and, Spalding's up 4 points. McDonough has all their timeouts. Spalding's really a one first down away from winning the game.
But they're on their own 2-yard line.
They're on their own 2-yard line.
Okay.
And then, as a coach, you got to decide, what are you going to do? Are you going to kind of take a safety and take a free kick so you don't have to worry about getting your punt blocked?
And their kicker happens to be extraordinary.
Well,
right? Their Spalding kicker's good.
Yeah, they're very good. But then you're going to kick the ball to a team that has one of the best field goal kickers in the league, which also goes into it. But all those things happen real quick. You have to be the decision maker. There's probably 4 or 5 people in your headset.
Yeah,
there's people in your headsets telling you suggestions, and then you as the head coach, under the pressure, has to make the decision. We're going to take the safety and take a free kick, or are we going to pump the ball? And, who knows what's right or wrong, but everyone judges the final product.
And McDonough catches lightning in a bottle. For the last minute, they score 10 points. It's kind of chaotic. You don't see that coming. But I'll tell you what, McDonough, having seen them play, they're one of those teams where if Spalding says, hey, let's play it safe and let's just throw a screen pass out here and get 8 yards and we'll have a room to kick, that screen pass might be a pick six. So that's all going through between the ears of that head coach. That's a tough place to live. And you've lived there.
No doubt. And you know what? Curtis Jacobs, let me just say that. You have a guy who's going to play in the Under Armour All-American game. They usually pick pretty good players to play in that, right? So
and lacrosse.
If you're going to Penn State on a football scholarship and you're playing in the Under Armour All-American game and there's a minute to go and you're going to get him the ball. And
I'm going to throw him the ball.
McDonough knows that. They did that. Curtis stepped up big time, made unbelievable plays in the last minute and a half of the game to really just refuse to lose. I think that's kind of how Curtis plays. So I'm really proud of Curtis Jacobs. I loved coaching him when I was there. His parents are great. Big Kurt and his mom, they're great family. All of his sisters went to McDonough, had success there. So I couldn't be more proud for Curtis.
Gotta love a kid stepping up, making a big-time play in a big-time moment. Not a lot of big-time moments in that St. Joe Calvert Hall game. Speaking of Calvert Hall, happy birthday to lacrosse coach Brian Kelly. I love you. Love everything you do for those kids. He leads an amazing program. Unfortunately, Calvert Hall didn't get their best. They didn't put their best foot forward on Saturday.
Well, the problem is you're getting Mount St. Joe right now really hot. They're a hot football team.
Rolling.
Well, not only on offense, too. I mean, just amazing. Samaj Henson, 3 TDs, 4 for 95. Billy Atkins, 16 of 20 for 275. But their defense, this was the first MIAA A Conference shutout in MIAA era football history. So you shut out Calvert Hall. Not only do you have a high-powered offense, your defense is rolling. So Mount St. Joe, McDonough Saturday will be a great game. Mount St. Joe has a great offense. McDonough has a great defense, and they have Curtis Jacobs. So it'll be a fun match.
And there the two shall meet. It'd be interesting to see how that'll pan out. And that the A Conference, the B Conference championship game, they're both at Spalding. So that's going to be exciting. St. Mary's over John Carroll. Anything jump off the page at you on that one?
Yeah, well, a backup kid, Keyshawn Gray, Dancer, rushed for 247 yards and
just a couple yards.
247 on the ground and 1 TD in the air, carried St. Mary's. That'll put them in the championship again. They are 2-time back-to-back champs, and they'll get Pilati in the pregame before the A Conference, the B Conference championship.
Pilati over Curley, and do you think that they kind of held serve on that one?
Pilati's very good. Pilati's got excellent skill players, a good football program. They've been putting it together for the last few years. Amani Alford, another big game, 140 yards rushing, 3 TDs for the Panthers offense. The defense was great all night long, led by Devon Newton, Zion Coleman, Chris Body, Cornell Evans and Braxton Harsley, really good on defense.
Quick side note, my main man, Dom Damico, I'm pretty sure the first football game you ever coached at McDonough was at Pilati in a night game, and I was there.
I think that's a long time ago. That was 25 years ago.
I think Philip J. Rosenbaum, who had a birthday the other day.
Philip J. was the quarterback.
I think he was the starting quarterback of that.
He was the starting quarterback, but the following week I don't think he was.
Love Philip J.
I love Philip. Let's talk about Philip J. real fast.
Okay.
Philip J. was the only kid I've ever coached, and this is on the 1995 McDonough football team, so it's a long time ago.
Yep.
Philip, honestly, we went back through and looked through the tapes, and me and Phil talked about this. He played every position for me. Every position.
No kidding.
Quarterback.
In games.
In games. He was a guard, a center, a tackle on offense. He was a receiver, tight end, running back, and quarterback. D-line, linebacker, and a safety. He played every position. I don't think there's another kid that I've ever coached
That's
in 34
pretty impressive.
years.
Yeah, Philip J.
Yeah, he said he played them all, but he wasn't very good in any of them.
Jack of all trades, master of none. But I will tell you this, Philip J. put a ball on the 14th hole at Marion that I've never seen anyone hit a drive there.
Well, Philip can
He hit
waffle.
about
Philip's
325.
Philip's a very good golfer.
And he hit it pretty high. He popped it up a little bit.
Get a little thin.
Hey, we got to take a quick break. Thanks so much to the U.S. Army, Glen Burnie Transmissions, Wise Market, the Indianapolis Running Classic. When we get back, I'm going to tell you there was a number 8 seed who took down a number 1 seed in the public school playoffs. I'll tell you who it was right after this.
Need groceries today but don't have time to shop? Order online with same-day pickup or delivery at Wise Markets. Wise to go online. Now that's convenient.
This is Stan the Fan for Glen Burnie Transmissions, located right in the heart of Glen Burnie for almost 60 years. If you suspect you're having a transmission problem, GBT can save you hundreds of dollars over taking it to the dealers for a repair. Make an appointment for a free diagnostic and estimate. Call GBT at 855-728-1841. Their mission is simple, to provide excellent service at a reasonable price. Go to their website at gbt-online.com to check out all of the 5-star reviews. Let my friend Mark Schwartzman and his GBT team take the troubles out of transmission troubles. Call them today at 855-728-1841.
Respect. It's more than a word. In the U.S. Army, it is one of our core values, earned through selfless service to our nation and making a difference both at home and abroad. On the Army team, respect is earned daily. And now, in addition to earning respect, you may earn up to $40,000 in bonuses if you qualify. To learn more, visit goarmy.com/bonus or call 1-800-USA-ARMY, paid for by the U.S. Army.
And we are back. Let's get to it. The big reveal, Dom. And this time a week ago, and we talked a little bit about this in the pregame, a week ago, we were kind of worried about some of the 1 seeds really hanging half of 100 or a half of 120 on some of the 8 seeds, which it happened in a couple instances, and they held serve, and they proved that why they were number 1 seed. But not so fast, my friend.
Not so fastly, Corso.
I mean, it just adds to it, and the MPSSA has to be just over the moon.
Absolutely.
With the fact. Tell us. Go ahead and reveal it. I'm going to
Well,
it's your research. You do it.
Wild Lake over River Hill.
Wild Lake takes down River Hill, the number 1 River Hill.
Yeah, and you know what? The MPSSA, they kind of made it a 32 playoff teams from 16, and they took a big risk there. But the whole idea was to see that is there a playoff team out there that if they didn't make the playoffs with the 32-team format, could they beat a 1? And they got what they wanted.
Can you prove us right?
They proved them right, and you know. The head coach at Wild Lake, Brian Henderson, boy, they call him the Riverboat Gambler for a reason. But during that game, he kicked an onside kick and a fake punt in the same game, in a very close game, in situations where most coaches wouldn't,
right,
to win the game. So the MPSSA got what they wanted, and, you know, they move on.
I love the fact, you say the onsides where you don't expect it. Sean Payton went onsides to start the second half of the Super Bowl.
That takes some guts.
Yeah. You got to have marbles.
No doubt.
You got to have some marbles. Now, Any other games that jumped off the page at you in the public school? Everybody held serve. I know Franklin squeaked by.
No, Franklin's playing really well right now. We are hitting our stride on offense, defense, and special teams. You know, we have a very well-rounded team, skill guys everywhere, really good on the defense and offensive line. So I think if we stay healthy and our kids continue to compete, we're going to be, continue to play through November.
Right there in the thick of it at the end of it.
Yeah, no doubt. We had a great practice yesterday, probably our best practice we've had. And, coming off of a big win Friday, sometimes it's hard to get kids to practice hard on Monday, but the kids were full of energy, a lot of contact. They were playing really physical. We actually had to tone it down a little bit. So I know the Franklin kids are going to be really ready to make a run here for the next 4 weeks.
I just got a text from Aaron Finkelstein, and he said the Whistling Straits versus the Marion Logos. We're going toe-to-toe. We can't decide. Yours is a little bit more remote. Mine's a little bit more exclusive. Like, you can walk up and pay Whistling Straits.
Yeah. You can have a whole bag of money. You ain't playing Marion. It doesn't matter.
So we got that going for us, which is nice. So we got the A Conference Championship, Mount St. Joe, McDonough. That's going to be it. I know Mount St. Joe lost 14-7 in the regular season. That's a game that could go either way.
No doubt. And, the later you play in football, outside venues, high school, the weather kind of plays a toll. And Mount St. Joe throwing the ball, it's a lot easier to throw the ball in August and September than it is to throw it in 30 degrees with wind. So I think the weather will kind of dictate whether Mount St. Joe can keep that air attack rolling. McDonough's going to play great defense. They're going to be well coached, and I think it'll be a great football game.
And you got Pilates, St. Mary's. St. Mary's got a couple rings, so to speak. What do you like?
I like Pilates. I think Pilates skill guys are just too much for St. Mary's. I think it'll be a close game, but I think Pilates pulls it out.
And now you talk about some high-level high school football, and that's a lot of what we do. Not that I ever played high-level high school football or could have ever played high-level high school football, but I know it when I see it. The WCAC is starting their semifinals. Those are 4 really good teams.
Unbelievable. All kind of in the national mix, definitely in the national top 100, if not 50, and some higher than that. But, Gonzaga versus Good Counsel Friday at 7 o'clock. You know what? If I was a betting man, I wouldn't be able. I would probably stay away from all of these games. To be honest,
I love the way you said that. If I was a betting man, I wouldn't bet on it.
No doubt. I usually bet on anything.
Gonzaga Good Counsel. How many? 3,000 people there?
The WCAC playoff games are unbelievable. There's lines to get in after the start of the game.
Yep.
So, it'll be a big crowd. And then
not just parents and girlfriends.
No, they get a lot of people that just wants to come watch really good high-level football. So you get this is elite.
Yeah.
This is elite national-level football. This is different. It's a different level week in and week out. Those teams are playing really high-level stuff, and that'll be a Friday night game. And then, you can wake up Saturday and go watch DeMatha St. John's. So, wow, there's probably on that football field, there'll be probably from sophomore to seniors, I would bet 15 Division I players on the field you get to watch play. So it's a high level, good coaches. And you really have programs that have a lot of coaches. At Franklin, because we're a county school, we're limited. The county limits you to the number of coaches you can have. DeMatha, Gonzaga, Good Counsel, they have 15, 18 coaches in their program. So they get well coached. They got great athletes. It's a great venue. So it's going to be a fun weekend in the WCAC.
And then another one, shout out to my man Chris Tomlinson down at Corrigan Sports. Damascus. You like that team?
Well, we're going to have to. Hopefully, we're going to have to play them at some point. But hopefully, it's in the championship game at Navy. They got some great players. They got the number 1 recruit in the country. They also have a Division I center.
Number 1 recruit in the country. He's D lineman, right? Isn't that what you were saying?
Yeah, committed to Clemson. He's a beast. You watches anybody watching that you want to watch an incredible high school football player. Just go on YouTube, do Damascus's defensive lineman Bracey, and wow, you'll see something. It almost looks like it's staged the way he's dominating players. But I would encourage you to go on YouTube, take a look at that. It's about 4 minutes. It'll be worth it. If you
best
like
4 minutes of your day.
If you like high school football, you'll love watching that.
Yeah, it's like in lacrosse, Mikey Powell's highlight film on YouTube. Sick. Hockey stops on a lacrosse field 20 times.
I love YouTube. I love going and watching just really talented highlight tapes of players, and you're talking about lacrosse again, but I go back and watch Tom Marichek's goals.
Yeah.
His best 10 goals as a Philadelphia wing indoor is amazing. I mean, his stick skills are second to none, and it's an elite thing. And if you're an athletic person, you like to watch elite athletes play.
Just saw my man Tom Marichek last weekend down at the IMG golf course. Had a nice day with Tommy. Great person. His wife, Kat, Caden Kerner, love those guys, and they're adjusting quite well down at IMG, so good luck to him. Now, lastly, one of the things we want to spin and come back with next week, but we want to get a little bit out of it now, is Coach Damico, you've been involved in high school football since 79, like when you played high school football, starting then, you've been involved with football.
Yeah.
What makes a great high school football coach?
Yeah, I think that's something we could talk about for a while, for a few kind of sessions as we go through this. And I think if you ask that question, I think you got to break it down. Are you talking about a head coach?
Yep.
Are you talking about an offensive coordinator? Are you talking about a defensive coordinator, special teams coordinator, a position coach? Because they all have different skill sets.
Sure. Different roles, different
skill sets, different things that make them great. And there's some people that are they have the skill set to be a good head football coach. And there are some people that have the skill set to be a great position coach. And they may stay as a position coach for 25 years and just do a great job with that. Some may work up from a position coach to a coordinator to a head coach. But they all have different skills. But I think the number one theme that goes through all of them is I think you have to be a good leader, A. You have to be a good teacher. I've always been taught good coaches are good teachers. So I think as we go through and talk about what makes a good head coach, what makes a good offensive coordinator, a good offensive coordinator, I think those two things are consistent in all of them. But I think as a head coach, you got to realize you're a head coach. You're responsible for all the assistants that work underneath you. You're responsible for all the players on the varsity team. You're responsible for all the players on the JV team. You're responsible, if you have a middle school program like McDonough did, you're responsible for the 7th and 8th grade football players. You're talking to parents. That could possibly lead to 100 different parents that you're communicating with. You actually have conversations with the athletic director that's guiding you, that's responsible for you. You're responsible for alums that are calling. So the leadership piece is important as a head coach. You have to be, the second word that comes to my mind is organized. You have to be really organized.
Yep.
There's no way you can manage that many people and just show up 15 minutes before and be a good head coach. It has to be a part of your process, being organized. And then the last thing I think as a head coach, work ethic. Those good coaches, you talk about college guys like, Dabo Sweeney and Nick Saban. Those guys are
where do they coach?
Well, you probably heard of them, but very little sleep time. I think I read an article one time that like Saban sleeps 5 hours a day, and the rest of the day he's working on Alabama football. And so you got to have a high energy. I know John Harbaugh works tons of hours and puts a lot of time in, really organized coach. All the high school coaches that are good, they put the time in. They're organized. They're good teachers, and they have work ethic. They got to actually put the time in to do well.
And lastly, it circle it all the way back around to one of the games we were talking about. As a head coach, you have a lot of people who are making suggestions to you. Mm-hmm. But when you speak, it's a decision. And you have to be able to decipher that and have that moral compass that allows you to make the right decisions based on the information you have and the suggestions you've received. Is that true?
No doubt. The decision maker usually gets paid more, so it's it's good to be the decision maker, but there's a lot of responsibility that goes on with the decision making.
You gotta love it. For Dom Damico, I'm Booker Corrigan. I'll see you here next week. We're back on Monday. Congratulations and thank you to all of our brave servicemen and women of the armed services and first responders. You have more courage than I do. We'll see you next week, but I want to remind you, you only get one shot at today.